Hi everybody, I hope you've enjoyed my free ebook on 6 strategies for breaking fear and attacking anxiety, and I hope you've enjoyed this video teaching series on fearless living so far. Now we've been diving in here in this video series into the concept of fearless living. This is living a life without fear and living a life without anxiety. Now, there was a time in my life when I was completely limited by limits. I was completely contained by containments. I was completely trapped by my entrapments. I was limited, I was contained, and I was trapped. At that time, folks, limits were all I knew. Now, I don't blame anyone for that, but you know what? What we experience matters. We tend to live out the things that are programmed in. The seeds that were planted in my life bore a harvest over time. So for me, recognizing some of those seeds that were planted inside me in the past, that's been essential to realizing why at a point in my life I was completely trapped by limitations. It also gave me insight as to why limitations and limits were all I knew. Limits were all I knew. And what we know and what we experience, well, guess what? It matters. It matters a lot. When all you experience from the moment of your entry into this world is limits, it will program you that way. Limits and limitations were all that I knew. Because of my own level of desperation, I went on a search and I was able to find answers, solutions, healing, and empowerment. The amazing news is that I was able to discover how to live a life without limits. I was able to break free of my limits and now live a limitless life. You can too. The truth is that you've waited long enough. You may have tried other strategies for breaking free of fear, breaking free of anxiety and limits, and though some of them are helpful, none of them have fully yet given you the empowerment and expertise to completely break free. Well, you know what? You've waited long enough to learn how to live a limitless life. You've been on a journey, and now is the time to learn to grow and to change. My life was completely limited, I mean full of them, but now I've learned to live a life without limits. Let me share with you here a few things that I learned about living a life without limits. The first thing, folks, is that it's all about perspective. The second thing is that it's all about people. And the third thing is it's all about a process, learning a process. So let's go ahead and break those down. Living without limits, number 1, is all about perspective. Now, Buddha said this: happiness does not depend on what you have or who you are. I'll say that again. Happiness does not depend on what you have or who you are. It solely relies on what you think. I'll say that all one more time because it's just so good. Happiness does not depend on what you have or who you are. It solely relies on what you think. Now think about that with me if you can for just a moment. Happiness does not depend on anything that I have or even who I am. It solely relies on what's going on up here. Now, one of my first realizations in moving from a limited life to a limitless life was that for me to change effectively, I needed to first change my perceptions. My past had almost taught me and programmed me to believe limited beliefs and think limited thoughts and behave in very limited and programmed ways. In order for Abe to change, my perceptions needed to change. To change myself, I first had to change my perception and my perceptions. See, here's a question. What do we do the most of? When you think about yourself or when you think about other people, what is the thing that you and I do the most? I'll tell you what it is. We think. We think about what we have to do next, who we have to see, where we've got to go, and what we're going to wear. But with those common daily thoughts, we not only think, but we also replay and rethink negative, self-defeating thoughts. How and what we think is one of the most important keys to our happiness and fulfillment. Our beliefs and thoughts and perspectives control and basically manipulate our entire lives. It's not the situation that upsets us or worries us, but it's how we see, how we view, how we think about that situation that causes us all this anguish. That is perspective. Everything begins in our minds, and our life is influenced by what we allow ourselves to perceive and think about things. If we choose healthy thoughts, well, we're going to have happy and healthy outcomes. You are what you perceive and believe and think. So I needed to learn to start believing in healthier things. If you're like me, you spend quite a bit of time running plays or game plans through your mind of things you are going to think, the things that you think will happen, and what this person is going to say, and what someone else is going to do. We not only think it through, but we visualize it as well. That is a very powerful manifestation technique. But the problem is that we're often manifesting negative situations that drain our energy and propel us to a pretty dark place. Practice switching gears. Start running positive plays in your mind and in your visualizations, and you will be surprised about the outcome. Use your thoughts to change your situation in an incredibly positive way. Perspective is everything, and perspective, folks, is a choice. So number one, living without limits is all about perspective. Number two, living without limits is all about people. Now, when we live alone, we live limited lives. But when we live in close connection and community with people, we move out of limits and into empowerment. We often live trapped by limits because we're living our lives alone. One of the most active, one of the best ways to live without limits is to be living connected with other people. The truth is that we need the support of a community, people, in order to thrive. Community and healthy relationships is a key component in any happy or fulfilled life. You know, there was a 2010 study conducted by the University of North Carolina, and researchers confirm this belief, concluding that a happy and a healthy social life promotes longevity. They actually analyzed 148 studies involving more than 300,000 individuals who participated on the subject, and they discovered that those with stronger social relationships maintained a 50% increased likelihood of survival. The effect of social relationships on mortality risk is even greater than the effect of exercise or obesity. I'm just going to make that really plain and simple. If you have great people around you, great relationships, you're going to live longer. And it's going to actually have a better health outcome for you than if all you did was exercise, or if all you did was prevent yourself from getting obese. And so there's this incredible benefit that comes by connection, by community, and by building relationships with other people. See, human beings are social animals, hardwired to connect with others. Research across a wide variety of disciplines consistently demonstrates that social support does three things. Number one, it enhances our productivity. In other words, we get more done. But number two, it positively impacts our psychological well-being. In other words, we feel more complete, we feel more fulfilled. But number three, it adds to our physical health. In other words, our body breaks down less. You know, George Vaillant, the Harvard professor of psychiatry who directed the world's longest continuous study of physical and mental health over 40 years, when he was asked what he had learned from his 40 years of research, 4 decades, he said the only thing that really matters in life are your relationships to other people. One of the ways we break free of limits is people, inviting close relationships and community into our lives. We all get by with a little help from our friends. So number two, living without limits is all about people. Living without limits is all about community. Number three, living without limits is all about process. It's all about process. In other words, learning a process. See, success in any endeavor is never easy, and it's always the outcome of a process. See, there's a process to making our dreams come true. If your dream is as simple and yet profound as living a limitless life, there's a process for making that dream come true. No dream ever comes true until you wake up and get to work. There's a process for fulfilling that dream. This is the principle of effort and return. With anything new, you've got to build momentum. You've got to invest a lot in the beginning to get something out of it. The reward, the return comes later. If you can hang on through the initial period of big investment, you're going to see the return and the result. It's kind of like when I started playing guitar, and believe me, you know, I'm no great guitar player, but I remember for hours practicing in my bedroom all alone, sounding awful. Now I sound okay. But there was a ton of investment at the start. And for you to live a limitless life, for me to live a limitless life, we need to be willing to engage in this process. Now, part of the process is that you need to tactically decide to simply outlast every obstacle, every barrier, and every enemy. So if you're going to live a limitless life, you need to kind of tactically decide at the start that in this war of attrition, in other words, who can last longer, that you're going to outlast every barrier, every obstacle, and every enemy. I believe in you. You can do it. You know, whenever I stop believing in myself, I think about some amazing stories. You know, Dr. Seuss, and we all know Dr. Seuss, you know, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, books like that. Do you know that his children's book was rejected by 23 publishers? The 24th publisher sold 6 million copies. In his first year, in the 3 years in the car business, Henry Ford actually went bankrupt twice. Michael Jordan, he was cut from his high school basketball team. I mean, imagine being the coach who cut Michael Jordan. Wayne Gretzky was too small and too slow to play in the NHL. And I love the words of Muhammad Ali. He said, I hated every minute of the training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a world champion. You know, John Rockefeller said this, I don't think there's any other quality so essential to success as the quality of perseverance. It overcomes almost everything. We need to persevere because light is going to come at the end of the tunnel. By perseverance, the snail reached the ark. You know, Calvin Coolidge, one of the presidents of the United States, said, nothing in the world can take the place of perseverance. Talent does not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful people with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is very common. Education alone will not. The world is full of educated failures. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. I love that. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. No matter the obstacle, no matter the enemy, no matter the barrier, persevere. We know we have persevered enough when we achieve what we set out to achieve. Remember the process, folks, on the road to fulfilling your dream. Effort plus perseverance always brings a return. There's no such thing as all of a sudden or overnight success except after a long period of hard work. There's a process, folks, for living a limitless life. Work the process. Don't give up on the process. Trust the process. Now, as I shared earlier, because of my own level of desperation, I went on a search and I was able to find answers, solutions, healing, and empowerment. The amazing news is because of this persistent search, I was able to discover how to live a life without limits. I was able to break free of my limits, my fear, my anxiety, and now I live a limitless life. You can too. The truth is, you've waited long enough. You may have tried other strategies, and though you found that some of them are helpful, none of them fully give you the empowerment and expertise to completely break free of fear and anxiety and limits. You've waited long enough to learn how to live a limitless life and to break free of fear. You've been on a journey, and now it's the time for you to learn, to grow, and to change. My life was completely limited, I mean full, but now I've learned to live a life without limits. It's about perspective, it's about people, and it's about learning the process. I hope you're all enjoying this amazing series on fearless living, because I've been enjoying it. My life was completely bound by limitations and fear and anxiety. Now I've learned to break free of fear, and I've learned the 10-step process for breaking free of fear. You can too. You've waited long enough. Now is your time. I want to share that in our next video. In our next video, I'm going to key in on breaking free of fear. I want to share some of the mindset and the tools that are crucial to live a life completely free of fear. So please, folks, tune into the next video and also share this series and share the ebook on 6 strategies for breaking free and attacking anxiety. Share it with everyone you know. Simply click on the share button below this video. Please go ahead and share it, like it, and enter some positive comments. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, wherever. Thank you so much.